Today I'm going to show you how to make a Japanese style spring roll or harumaki, so stick around. Welcome back to No Recipes. I'm Mark Matsumoto and I'm here to show you how to elevate your everyday meals. So smack that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss out. So what's the difference between harumaki and the egg rolls you get at Chinese American takeout joints? Well, they're both based off of Chinese julienned or spring rolls, but the Japanese version is filled with meat and vegetables cooked in a starch-thickened gravy that makes these harumaki self-saucing. The effect is that when you bite through the crispy wrapper, you're rewarded with a mouthful of molten umami, along with the different textures of the vegetables and meat inside. The liquid on the inside does make the wrappers go soggy a little faster, but I've got a trick that helps keep the shell crisp long enough to devour a whole plate of these beauties. Ready to get started? Let's have a look at our ingredients. For the meat, I'm using 150 grams of ground pork, but you can use any protein, including chicken or tofu, and I'm gonna season it with a tablespoon of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of mirin, 2 teaspoons of potato starch, and an 1/8 teaspoon of white pepper. For the vegetables, I have 10 grams of ginger, 75 grams of scallion stems, 175 grams of cabbage leaves, 100 grams of bamboo strips, 2 large shiitake mushrooms, and about 1/3 of a carrot. For the sauce, I'm using a cup of chicken stock, 1 tablespoon of potato starch, 1 teaspoon sesame oil, and some salt to taste. Finally, to wrap our harumaki, I'm using 10 spring roll wrappers, 1 tablespoon of flour, and 1 tablespoon of water. Let's start by marinating the ground pork with the soy sauce, mirin, potato starch, and white pepper. Then I'm just gonna stir this together until the ingredients are evenly distributed. The potato starch helps lock the seasonings into the pork so they don't all leak out when we cook it. For the sauce, I'm gonna mix the potato starch and sesame oil into the chicken stock. Since chicken stock can vary in saltiness, I recommend you hold off on adding the salt until later. Next, I'm gonna add the flour and water to a bowl and stir it together until there are no lumps. This is gonna make a glue that'll allow us to seal our spring rolls shut. For the ginger, I'm gonna peel it using a spoon. This is the easiest way to peel into all the nooks and crannies without losing a ton of ginger. Then I'm gonna slice it up. We're gonna cut the slices into strips, and then turn the strips 90 degrees and mince them up. If you end up with some bigger pieces, just go back over them with your knife like this. For the scallion stem, I'm gonna cut a slit into it down the center and remove the core. Then I'm gonna spread the sheets out like this. This is a little too long, so I'm gonna cut it in half once, and then slice the sheets into thin strips. By the way, this is a Tokyo negi, which has a very thick stem, so I'm only using 1. But if you're using ordinary scallions, you'll probably need 3 to 4 stems. Now I'm gonna slice the core up into thin strips as well. Then you can turn the strips 90 degrees and mince the scallions up like this. If you end up with some bigger pieces, just go back over them with a knife to mince them up. Then you can throw them in a bowl along with the ginger. For the shiitake, I'm gonna wipe down the cap to remove any debris using a damp paper towel. Be sure to get under the cap as well. Then I'm gonna trim the tough stems off and slice the caps up. If your shiitakes have thick caps like mine, You'll probably want to line the slices up and slice them into strips. Then you can turn the strips 90 degrees and chop them up. For the cabbage, just stack the leaves and then roll them up. Then you can shred them with a sharp knife like this. These leaves are kinda huge, so I think I'm gonna cut them a few times in the other direction as well. For the carrot, I'm gonna slice off one side and then roll it onto the flat spot so it's not rolling all over the place as I slice it. Now I'm gonna line the slices up in a staggered stack like this. Then I'm gonna cut the slices into thin strips. Okay, let's make our filling. I've got a frying pan over medium-high heat and I'm gonna add the oil. Then I'm gonna add the ginger and scallions and saute these until they're tender and fragrant. This will take about 2 minutes. Now I'm gonna add in the carrots, bamboo, cabbage, and mushrooms. This 10-inch pan was a little too small for this amount of filling, so I'd recommend using a 12-inch pan if you have one. Now I'm gonna stir fry the veggies until they're cooked through. This is gonna take about another 3 minutes. Be sure to keep the veggies moving around the pan so that they don't burn. I find it easiest to toss them with the pan like this, but if that's not your style, you can just use 2 spatulas to toss it like a salad. When the veggies are cooked, push them to the sides of the pan to open up a spot like this. Then you can add the meat to the center of the pan and cook it while breaking up any clumps with a spatula. I like adding the meat towards the end like this, so it doesn't get overcooked and tough. Once the meat starts getting crumbly like this, mix it in with the veggies. Now I'm gonna give the sauce mixture a stir to reincorporate the starch and pour it into the pan. This is gonna make a nice thick gravy that's gonna give our harumaki a flavorful molten center. Once the pork is cooked, give the filling a taste. This needs a bit more salt, so I'm gonna add in about a 1/4 teaspoon, but you may need more or less depending on how salty your chicken stock is. Now I'm gonna stir that together and our spring roll filling is done. Before we stuff our rolls, we need to cool off the filling. To speed this up, I'm gonna fill a large tray with cold water. Float a smaller tray in the water, and then you want to dump the hot filling into the smaller tray. This works by drawing the heat out of the filling and into the water, so you want to make sure you spread it out evenly so it's making contact with as much of the inner tray as possible. Now I'm gonna let this cool until it comes down to room temperature. This should take about 15 to 20 minutes. While we wait for that to cool, let's go ahead and separate the sheets of spring roll wrapper. I usually start from one corner and then peel the top layer off, being careful not to stretch or tear the wrapper. These will dry out and get brittle pretty fast, so work quickly and then cover the wrappers with a damp towel to keep them hydrated. Once the filling is cool, I'm gonna remove it from the water bath and divide it up into 10 segments. I'm using a bench scraper to do this, but you can use anything from a chopstick to your fingers to draw some lines. The idea is to give you a sense of how much filling you can add to each roll. Okay, time to roll our harumaki. I'm gonna start by laying out a wrapper with a corner facing me. Then I'm gonna scoop a segment of filling onto the center of the lower half of the wrapper like this. Next, I'm gonna grab the corner closest to me and roll it up and over the filling. Continue rolling it until you've reached the middle of the wrapper. Then you want to fold the 2 sides over towards the center of the roll. Now I'm gonna dip my finger into the bowl of flour glue and spread some along the top corner of the wrapper like you're about to seal an envelope. Finally, you'll want to loosely roll the harumaki to seal it shut. Let's look at that from a different angle. Do you see how I'm rolling it with my fingers in either end of the roll so it leaves a little gap? This is the key to prevent the spring roll from bursting when we fry it. And it'll also help keep the shell crispy for longer because it leaves an air gap between the inner and outer layers of the wrapper. Now you just have to repeat this process for the other 9 rolls. Once you're done wrapping the spring rolls, prepare a deep bowl with a few layers of paper towels so we can drain the harumaki upright. Before we fry these up, I want to thank every member of the No Recipes crew. If you haven't joined yet and you're learning something new from my recipes, I hope you'll consider clicking the link in the description down below to join us. As a member, you'll get access to recipe previews as well as a members-only community where I share updates and give you a behind-the-scenes peek at what I do. To fry the harumaki, I've got a pot with about 1.5 inches of vegetable oil that I've preheated to 360 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius, and I'm gonna add in a few rolls. The reason I'm using hotter oil than usual is because the filling is already fully cooked, so all I'm looking to do here is to crisp the wrapper. Be sure to roll these around in the oil periodically so they brown evenly. As long as the wrapper is crisp, you don't need to fully brown them, so it should only take about 3 to 4 minutes to fry these up. When the harumaki have crisped, transfer them to your bowl, making sure to stand them upright. This allows any excess oil that's pooled inside the roll to drain out. Okay, who wants to see me cut one of these in half? Beautiful, isn't it? Let's get these onto a plate. And our harumaki are done. Because each spring roll is filled with sauce, there's no need to serve these with a separate sauce. But you do see some people dipping them in vinegar and soy sauce here in Japan. They also make for a delicious addition to a bento box lunch if you happen to have leftovers, so I hope you'll give these a try. If you enjoyed this video, you can help me out by giving this a big thumbs up and by sharing it with all your friends that love a good spring roll. Well, I'm gonna go have a few of these while they're still crisp, and then maybe I'll take a nice long walk. But I'll catch you in the next one.